This meeting of the RTM will come to order. It's Monday, May 1st, 2017, 7 p.m. Welcome back, everybody. This is the first night of our annual budget meeting. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Representative Adams. Here. Bailey.
Here.
Baker. Burrell. Bauer. Burgos.
Here.
Casper.
Here.
Dean Shinbrot.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Frickman.
Here.
Garcia. Gilly.
Here.
Hubbard.
Here.
Kent.
Here.
Longino. Laughlin.
Here.
Mayor. Marley. Massett. McCabe.
Here.
McDermott.
Here.
Merritt.
Here.
Nault.
Here.
Nugent.
Here.
Aubry.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Pasqualini. Powers. Quinn. Who's he? Who's he? Who's he? Oh, he's... Okay, he's not in the room now. I'll have to add him later. Sleeker Hussant.
Here.
Steinford.
Here.
Streeter Irma.
Here.
Streeter James.
Here.
Swindell.
Here.
Wagner. Watrous.
Here.
Wells.
Here.
Williams. Wilson.
Here.
And Newsom, 28. 28.
We have 28 members. I declare a quorum.
Representative Powers walks in, then we'll have 29, but we have to wait for him.
We have 28 members right now. Declare a quorum. Will everybody please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's 29.
We now have 29 members. So, Resolution 2017-0055, resolution setting RTM budget meeting date for FYE 2018 annual town budget. Resolution setting RTM budget meeting date on the FYE 2018 annual town budget, whereas Section 9.3.1 of the Groton Town Charter requires that the Town Council determine the date for the annual budget meeting of the representative town meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the annual budget meeting, the representative town meeting, will be held on Monday, May 1st, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Groton Senior Center, Newtown Road, Groton, Connecticut. Citizens' petitions. This is the portion of the RTM agenda where the RTM welcomes comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 3 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be limited to matters pertinent to Groton. The moderator or members through the moderator shall ask questions only in order to clarify the speaker's presentation. Responses may be given by the moderator and or by the town manager. Citizens should make their presentations from the lectern and state their names and addresses for the record. So I know there's some folks who came in after I got the list, and you'll be asked as soon as we're done with these guys if there's anybody else that wishes to speak. So right now, Carl Strand. Right. Please remember to give your name and address first.
Carl Strand, 373 River Road, Mystic. I am president of the Old Mystic Fire District. It has now been 7 years that the North Stonington Road Bridge has been closed, and that our fire apparatus responding from the Old Mystic Station has to go through the intersection of Route 27 and Main Street in Old Mystic, a very, very dangerous intersection that is difficult to maneuver with a piece of fire apparatus at best. I go through that intersection 4 or 5 times a week, and I can't tell you how many times I see people going through at a rolling stop, or even disregarding the stop sign completely. You are in receipt of a letter from our fire chief dated the 18th of April, responding to this condition. We have spoken with the town council. The town council has removed this item from the 2017-2018 budget. Your Public Safety Committee has voted 5-1 to restore it to the budget. And we respectfully request that you restore this $300,000 item to the budget. If you fail to do so, we will probably lose a federal grant to cover half the cost of this. The other proportion of this replacement is being funded from the town of Stonington, who are in full support of this replacement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Patty Anderson. You want to right over here, ma'am?
I'm Patty Anderson. I live at 18 Charles Street in Mystic, and I'm here to speak about Groton Public Library. I think the library is an important asset to our community, and I hope that the funding that was taken away will be restored. In the last 55 years, our family has lived 8 different places in the U.S., 3 of which have been in Connecticut, and Mystic has been our home for the last 11 years. The Groton Public Library, one of our favorite local places, is the best library we have encountered in our many residences. We consider ourselves fortunate to have this excellent facility right here. The staff of the library is consistently welcoming and helpful. Folks who seem as interested in the subjects I want to pursue as I am, and who appear to be able to access anything one wants or needs when it comes to information, culture, and education. They work hard to find unusual or new books that we want to read, either through the interlibrary loan or add them to the purchase requests if appropriate. Large print books are plentiful and available for those who are more comfortable reading in that format, for which my husband is very grateful. There are classes for a number of computer-related skills, for which I am grateful. The cultural advantages of the library are an additional asset to the community. I like borrowing and listening to the classical music CDs from the collection. We have often enjoyed and been enlightened by the monthly Friday night foreign films, and I have shown some of my own artistic creations in the art space and vitrines in the main hall, an important encouragement to amateur as well as to professional artists. The recent discussion in The Day about shortening the library hours was followed by a letter that I applauded, suggesting that if cuts are necessary, weekday morning hours might be curtailed instead of the more obvious cuts in the evening or weekend hours when working folks and students need the access. One of the reasons we enjoy living in Groton is our wonderful Groton Public Library, which is constantly changing to respond to our citizens' needs for education, aesthetics, and for helping us keep our minds sharp and responsive to the world around us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve Anderson?
I'm Steve Anderson. My address is 18 Charles Street in Mystic, and I'm here to talk about the library. There's another important feature of the library, which is that there are computers there, which means if you're looking for work and you're an older person, this is a really good place to go to find a job. And I think that's a service that a lot of people around here need. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yolanda, I think it's Cody?
Good evening. My name is Yolanda Cooley, and I live at 259 Noank Ledyard Road in Mystic. And I just want to say that I've been a resident here for 25 years. I chose to start a family here in Mystic. I have 2 young children at Northeast Academy, and I'm here to say that I'd like you to support the education and don't cut the education budget, please. Thank you.
Roseann Kotowski?
Roseann Kotowski, 24 Ann Avenue, Mystic, Connecticut. Good evening. So it looks like Groton dodged a bullet this year, thankfully. Now would be a good time for Groton to reduce spending and services and to be realistic and in accordance with what the taxpayers can afford. Tonight I would like to ask the RTM to change the way you review and consider the budget. While reviewing the line items, the RTM budget deliberations focus on the entitled, or the takers, in the budget process, which are the town and Board of Ed staff and operations. I am asking you to consider the other side of the process, which is the givers, who are the taxpayers and all of you. The town of Groton is in a fiscal crisis. There is no debate over that. What is needed is for Groton to reduce spending. The only way out of this fiscal crisis is to spend less, not tax more. As I have been saying for years, there are places to reduce spending in the town and Board of Ed budgets. Salaries and benefits is number 1. Did you read recently that the first selectman of East Lyme just took a 10% pay decrease? Considering Groton is in a fiscal crisis, having our very well-paid non-union salaried employees who also receive benefits that are unheard of by the taxpayers who are paying for them take a pay cut seems like an excellent solution. Also, RTM members, please request the non-union management agreement that covers the town non-union employees as well as the Board of Ed central office staff, excluding the superintendent. This document has not been updated since 2006. Please ask to see this document. In my view, another area that is cause for concern in the Groton budget are the class sizes at Fitch High School. Please request the Fitch High School class size list and see for yourself. I recently requested it from Dr. Grainer and received it promptly. Remember, small class sizes mean more staff. Last, about 13 months ago, I posted a response to an article regarding declining student population and increasing Board of Ed budgets. It said, okay, here is the writing on the wall, Groton Board of Education. Please be proactive. Do not wait until we are in crisis mode. Reduce Board of Ed operations in anticipation of known facts for future student population numbers. Do not maintain staff that are not required. Just do what you were elected to do. Manage the school system based on student needs, not wants, and what the taxpayers can afford. Now that Groton is facing a fiscal crisis, what I posted 1 year ago today seems to have come true. RTM members, when considering line items, please consider if it is a need or a want. All wants must be eliminated from the budget. Also, please consider the taxpayers who are the giving side of the budget process and what they can afford and what is fiscally responsible and sustainable. Once again, what is needed for Groton is to reduce spending. The only way out of this fiscal crisis is to spend less, not tax more. Thank you.
Barbara, I think it's Krug.
Good evening. Barbara Frucht, 300 Randigui Avenue, Groton City. I am here tonight to speak in behalf of the Bill Memorial Library and other local libraries, asking for your continued support. We, the Bill Memorial Library Board of Directors, struggle to keep our historic 180-year-old building together so that we can continue to provide outstanding library services to the community, and particularly our many walk-in patrons from Groton Bank. With the closing of Pleasant Valley School, we anticipate even greater need for the youth of our community to be able to continue their knowledge from use of Bill Memorial Library. Many of the children attending Pleasant Valley School and other nearby schools have grown up with our well-attended story hour and summer reading programs, our varied youth and adult programs, as well as ongoing use of our library computers and job resume services, and many new adult programs. As I have said, our building is old, and now we face our prospects of replacement of our furnace and cooling system, as well as continued leaks at our windowsills and roof. Through fundraising and careful budget monitoring, we will continue to strive to stay on top of this. With your support, our top priority, and always will be, the library services that we make available to the community. At our representative town council meeting in March, we offered to lower our request from $23,000 to $20,000 in lieu of the diminished state support for our education budget, because we know that the continued outstanding school system in the town must be maintained. I know $3,000 is not much based on what the need for saving our schools and continuing to employ the teachers that are such an integral part of Groton education. But there was no way we wouldn't try to help as we should. Thank you for your continuing support of our budget requests in the past years, and for the passion of the many on the RTM committees for their continued library support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Francis Whitney. And just to let people know, the snacks in the back are for RTM members. It's the one perk we have in these meetings.
Hi, my name is Frances Whitney. I live at 112 Deerfield Ridge Drive in Groton, and I am here tonight to hopefully speak on behalf of our schools. I've been a Groton resident for 10 years, and so far we've been very happy with the education our kids have been receiving at Northeast Academy. When we were first moving into the area, the only factor that ruled out any town for us was educational quality. And with the increasing jobs, especially with EB in the area, we want to make sure people still want to move to Groton. That's very important to our town. We want to make sure people with families want to stay in Groton. I don't want to see our town get a reputation for poor educational quality. Education is an investment, not just to the kids, but to the town itself. We need to give our schools access to the faculty, resources, and technologies that they need to help our kids be successful in college and careers beyond their time in our educational system. If the budget goes lower, even though kids will still graduate, if they don't have the skills they need to be successful, that does not look good for us and as a town. And dropout rates with poor education tend to be higher. And when if we have poor education and students are not successful beyond high school, there's higher unemployment and higher crime. And we don't want that. Our per student education costs as of 15-16 we're lower than most of our surrounding area. Even though the number might seem like it's going up, we need to consider how many students are being served and the cost that goes into each student. So it needs to be recognized that while they do ask for more money, and I believe the board has asked for a 1.7% increase, that number reflects a certain amount going into each child, and it's already lower than a lot of the area. Even with the number that was approved by the town council in the most recent meeting after reconsideration, the per child cost of education is going down. I'm hoping that the RTM will support our kids and support our schools and give them the money that they need to give our kids the best future possible and to give our town a good reputation. I'm going to be honest, my husband and I are looking to move to a different house in the next couple of years, and we're keeping a close eye on this and determining even if we want to stay here. So let's make Groton an attractive place to live and keep our property values high by supporting education and supporting families. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Croxton. We now have 30 members.
Good evening. Larry Croxton, 35 Knoll Drive in Groton. Good evening, and thank you for the time and effort that you all put into to make Groton a great place to live and work. With that said, I am particularly concerned with the cuts that have been made to the education budget for the coming year. The budget picture is very blurry right now, with the state working on a budget that may cut Groton's funding by millions, or maybe not. The latest budget offered by the Republicans in Hartford seemed much better for Groton. But again, so many things change. I don't believe we should leap before we know how far we need to jump. The school system is a vital part of any community, and a school system like we have in Groton is one that will draw families and new electric boat workers to live in Groton. The school system is one thing that all of Groton, the city and the town, share and benefit from. Our fight should not be with each other, but with Hartford and the legislature, as they create a budget that needs to be fair and equitable to Groton. They need to be educated in who we are and why we are different from the other communities in Connecticut. The teachers of Groton have sent 1,000 postcards to state legislators to do just that, and they're listening. We need to do more of this type of grassroots effort to bring the message home. So I'm asking that the RTM not cut the education budget any further, and if I may be so bold, I would ask that you might restore the money that was cut by the town council. Let's work together, fight for Groton, all of Groton. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Gretchen Cipollini.
Hello, Gretchen Cipollini, 87 Phoenix Drive, and I think I've been here for about 100 years. An 11% increase in property tax is unsustainable. Residents will continue to leave, and businesses will continue to shut down in Groton. I'm here to represent the ordinary taxpayer in Groton. I am disgusted. I and others have been doing extensive investigation into the Oddfellows home in Balfour Beatty Housing, who are getting almost all services, i.e. children education, full police, and ambulance services at the expense of the rest of us who are not so fortunate to live in the confines of these two entities. There is no federal or state law or town ordinance that says that private citizens of a town have to pay for services provided to fully private entities, which Oddfellows and Balfour Beatty are. Thus far in this investigation is costing us net of impact aid close to $14 million per year for civilian and military students living in Balfour Beatty housing. And on top of that, we are fully paying for 1,335 calls per year for police service to Balfour Beatty housing, and we are working on obtaining the cost per visit for this and for ambulance service to both Oddfellows and Balfour Beatty. The impact aid we see from the Navy is strangely going down. Now it is only at $3,500 per student, while it costs us $15,500 per student. Why? There are 169 non-military students living within Balfour Beatty, for which there is no impact aid, costing us $2.5 million per year, fully paid for through the graciousness of the Groton taxpayer, while all other apartment complexes in town, also with resident students, pay their fair share of property taxes. If we were collecting monies for these services, we would be reducing taxes this year, despite what the governor is doing to us. There are about 15 towns between Maryland and Maine who presently have or had Balfour Beatty managed communities. Thus far in my investigation, unlike what our town manager thinks, every town impacted by military housing is paying that town either through having the properties put on the grand list or a contract that was negotiated when the housing was privatized back in 2004. Groton, thus far in my investigation, has the largest number of units, 1,887, 2.2% of our land mass, while the largest communities in other states have approximately 500 units each, yet their upper town management did the fair thing and went through the pains of getting their citizens compensated for the service that the town is providing. All these other towns pull it off. What is wrong with Groton? Our upper management has put a huge burden on the backs of our citizens in business for about 13 years at a loss of many millions, and due to the complexity of the situation has successfully swept us under the carpet. We can no longer survive and absorb such huge mismanagement. With regards to the Oddfellows home, there are no competing continuing residential communities in the entire state that are either not on their town's grand list or paying monies on a pilot plan or in lieu of taxes. Our state senator, Heather Summers, has obviously been doing backdoor politics and has recently gotten our town council to rescind their letter to the State High Sub-Finance Committee to say that the bill that gives the Oddfellows a $25 million advantage has negative impact on Groton, which it most certainly does, to the tune of $300,000 a year of uncollected taxes. Though this number pales in comparison to what Balfour Beatty is getting our taxpayers to pay for them, it all adds up and is simply wrong. This is clear an example of politics at its worst. Senator Summers should be working to introduce legislation that will eliminate the unique $25 million Oddfellows tax advantage, which is so detrimental to her much larger number of constituents who do not live at the Oddfellows home.
Ms. Cipollini, your time has
I
expired.
have one little bit left to conclude. May I? I'm
That's it.
asking that the RTM, who is chartered to truly represent us, the people, to reject this budget. Put aside political alliances and pressures and care about our citizens who are struggling now without an increase as insane as 11%. Oddfellows and Balfour Beatty have to pay their services, and we have to save in the matter of one Groton. But it takes hard work, good negotiating skills, and committed efforts to do so. You must not succumb to the political pressure from our present failed upper management and our state senator, Heather Summers, who each have put politics ahead of the welfare of our taxpaying citizens.
Ms. Cipollini,
Thank
your
you.
time's expired.
Done.
Thank you very much. That's the last person we have signed up. Is there anybody else that would like to speak that maybe came in later? Okay. We'll go one at a time. And please don't forget to state your name and address for the record.
Valerie Riley, 6 Bulls Lane, Mystic. RTM members. I'm a parent of 2 children in Groton Public School System. I have one attending Northeast Academy and one at Cutler Middle School. My husband and I have been very pleased with their educational experience thus far. The reason I'm here tonight is to support I'm here tonight in support of the proposed budget put forth by Dr. Grenier and the Board of Education. I understand the predicament Groton is in, but I also understand that we are one of the only towns responding to Governor Malloy's severe cuts in what is just a proposal at this point in time. I believe Groton has built a strong education system, and Dr. Grenier has provided a promising vision moving forward. If we want families to stay in Groton or move to Groton, we can't reduce our funding for education. The youth of today will someday be the adults of our town, so let's show them how important they are by supporting the Board of Education. Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am, could I trouble you to state your address one more time? We missed it.
6 Bulls Lane. Mystic.
Anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, sir?
Hello, my name's Timothy Pratt, and I live at 1288 River Road in Mystic. And I am chairman of the Jabez Smith House Committee, so I'm here to speak in support of the budget proposal for the Jabez Smith House operations. It's an historic farmhouse, as you know, located across the street on North Road. It has a fascinating role in the history of Groton. It was built on the site of one of the earliest settlements here, and was in the same family until the late 1970s. So it's not just a part of our history, it's also an active museum and an active resource for the town. We have lectures, we've had tours open to the public, we have various events for the public to enjoy and to learn the history of Groton, and it ties in very neatly with the new Groton history section at the library. So I hope that even though this is a challenging budget year, that you will see the benefit to the town of this unique building, and will see it as worthy of support. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. My name is Annie Rodgers, and I live at 208 High Street in Mystic. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to voice my support for the public schools of Groton. I am a proud member of the Northeast Academy elementary school community. My children are receiving the most excellent education imaginable. I am in the classrooms, just first grade classroom and third grade classroom for an hour each month, and I can tell you that those teachers deserve every last cent. And I implore you to remember that there's no greater investment that a community can make than into its children. My husband and I chose Mystic as our home 12 years ago, in large part because of its public school system, and we will leave. We will leave this community if the schools do not support our children. We want the best for them. We hope you do too, and we hope that you will restore the funding and take the recommendation of Dr. Mike Grenier. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Claire Rodgers. I live at 138 Payer Lane in Mystic. Thank you all, RTM members, for your dedication and service. I am here to ask you to support the education system and the budget, because so much has already been cut from it, and there is no excess in this budget. Every teacher, administrative personnel, and support staff who is employed in Groton is in fact earning their pay and is not just standing around twiddling their thumbs. They are very, very busy. So I support everything everyone has said up till now in support of the education budget. So please, please, please keep us moving forward in a positive light. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Alicia Stanwood, 139 Ridgewood Drive, and I just wanted to speak on the hand of Groton Public Schools in support of restoring our budget, and I can't tell you how important it is for these students and their education. Our teachers are hardworking, they earn their pay just as these other people have noticed and have seen in the schools, and it's detrimental to their education that we keep the funding into our schools. Schools are one thing that combine this whole town. Our city, our town, Groton, is all dependent on students' education. I can't tell you how much that the quality education is something that will attract people to the town of Groton, especially with the 1,000 employees, over 1,000 that will be hired at EB. It's something that's going to get them into this town and keep them into this town. You've only had people thinking about reconsidering moving, and it's all because of that education. Please don't take that away from our kids. Continue to keep it strong and keep this fight for our children. Thank you.
Mr. Trejo?
Kevin Trejo, 536 Shinnecock Road. I want to thank the RTM, Town Council, Board of Education, and everything else for this budget season. One thank you to the town manager, who was supposed to be retiring, but retiring for all the service. For those who don't know, I've been involved in education volunteering for about 16 years. I'm not going to come up here and say, support the Board of Education. We're in troubled times. But on the handout that was given on the school budget, being that I spent many, many years on sit teams, hiring teams, and everything else, I don't like some of the cuts here. And when you speak with the superintendent during it time, what West Side and Fitch is losing on these proposed cuts is drastic. I have hired 4 Spanish teachers at one time at West Side. They keep getting pulled out. This is an area of the 2 middle schools that has 600 students in it, and you can't afford to start losing these positions into that school in that area, and along with Fitch High School. So please do a lot of questioning to the superintendent on some of these cuts that have happened, because these are drastic. Also, some of the people have put some money together. People argue about different sides of town, back and forth. Public safety is imperative in Groton, Mystic, Noank, Groton Long, public safety. Just do your diligence on that too, because without public safety, without decent education, we're in trouble. That's all I ask. Do your homework, ask the right questions again. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
Thank you. I hadn't planned on speaking today. My name is Mitch Shinbrot. I live at 116 Dartmouth Drive in Mystic, Connecticut. And I've lived in Groton for the last 32 years. The schools are very important. I have absolutely nothing against the schools. I have children that were educated here in the school system. I just want everyone to please keep in mind who's going to pay for all of this. Just think about that. Thank you.
Would anybody else care to speak? Yes, sir?
My name is Ian Thomas, 159 Shinnecock Parkway. Just looking over this sheet here, I see a lot of West Side Middle School being cut from the budget. I don't see much from Cutler. Find that kind of confusing. I think education, first off, should be the last thing that's cut from a budget, not the first. It's the responsibility of a community to educate its youth. Any cut needs to be considered very carefully, very heavily. And if there is to be cuts, they should be shared equitably across the whole community. Given the controversial nature that governor's formula was used to create this budget that created this crisis in Groton, I find it troublesome that the council has capitulated so quickly to give up so much. Now, it's commendable that some has been restored, but I believe that more should be restored. That we should be fighting tooth and nail to force the state to own its responsibility to our youth, as well as our town and our city, to work together to support the youth. And education is the method by which we do this. And, you know, looking down the list here, like I said, I don't see any cuts from, you know, the town side of things as far as Cutler goes. I just see West Side. So, you know, I urge the RTM to reconsider, restore, do what you got to do. But, you know, this is not just. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Yes, sir.
I'm Mike Whitney, 112 Deerfield Ridge Drive, Mystic, Connecticut. And I'm here in support of education and our children, and actually our town as well, because if we want a successful town, we have to have a successful education system that raises talented, smart kids that can go out in the world and do us proud. And I think they will, and they do and have, because they've given the chance. The education budget is under pressure this year, and it started with the governor's proposal to cut our funding. He really pulled the rug out from under us. I'm hopeful, as I think we all are, that representatives in Hartford will work together to come up with a more sensible solution and restore our funding. I think it's very important that we stand together as a town and not build in cuts this moment, but rather stand strong for our town and our education budget. At the town council, I was really disheartened, as many people were, about the deep cuts that were originally voted in. And we were, I guess, recognized a step forward that they reconsidered and put back a couple million back into the budget. It was the crowds that you saw there in support of it were very vocal, and I think those crowds would be here as well. The few of us here tonight represent many that feel the same way. And so we are urging you certainly not to cut the budget, but also to restore more funds. We had a petition going that in less than 24 hours before the reconsider had over 250 signees. We started a new one for the RTM that's going out to the Education Committee in support of increased funding for our schools. And already that's up over 100 people. So many of us feel strongly that this is the way to go for our town. And for a regional perspective, we need to stay competitive. As the budget stands, the education budget, I count it as, I think, a 2.2% decrease from last year. If you look at what East Lyme just ratified, it's a 2.38 or something % increase. And Ledyard, at this stage, is an increase too. Stonington's up in the 2% increase. We're the only ones right now going in the wrong direction. We can't afford to do that, not even for 1 year, for our kids' educations. We have to keep them going in the right direction if we're going to keep our town the way it is and avoid a downward spiral of worse schools, people moving out, property rates going down, and then we're in real trouble. So we need to stand strong together and support our kids and our schools. And if you'd like to sign on to the petition, you can find it on change.org, and you can just search for the words Groton Education, and you should find it. And it's got the picture that says, "Help Groton Public Schools." And we certainly hope that all of you, the RTM, will do the same. Thank you.
Mr. Whitney? Mr. Whitney, could I please trouble you to state your address one more time?
112 Deerfield Ridge Drive, Mystic, Connecticut. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else care to speak?
My name is Charlotte. I go to Northeast Academy. Please support.
I'm sorry, Charlotte, can you please state your last name?
Whitney. I go to Northeast Academy. Please support education. Some kids need extra help learning. I am one of those kids. I was having trouble reading, and the Lexia program helped me. Lexia costs money. Please support all kids learning. Thank you.
Nice job. Nice job. You'll live through it.
Portia Bordelon, 159 Shanticosset Parkway. Once again, I wasn't going to speak, but looking at these numbers again after, looking at West Side, this kid shouldn't happen. I mean, we're talking about a school that, facilitates kids that are in the most crucial environments at home in some areas that come from, all they have is West Side. And the scores at West Side are declining or have declined, and to cut Spanish, special education, math, language arts, what's left? What's left there? If my data is correct, West Side and Cutler currently serve exactly the same number of students. I actually think someone told me West Side is up by 6 students. How do we consider this fair and even? Once again, the city and the town. It has to stop. I have a son leaving West Side this year and one entering. My son who is entering West Side currently utilizes the special ed program. It's my understanding that there's 3 special ed teachers at West Side and at Cutler that service the resource rooms. What does that mean for my student next year at West Side? We're cutting a special ed teacher? So where do I want to send my kid? Why should he have to change schools because I don't feel he's safe at West Side? I said to my son, I said, Aiden, we're having a meeting for your transition to next year. What would you like to do? We'll do a tour of Cutler, we'll do a tour at West Side. He says, Mom, I want to go to West Side where my friends are, where I live. I want to be with my friends. But this budget cut doesn't make me confident that I want him in that building when there's already safety concerns currently at that school. It's so sad to me that at night when I talk to my son, the things that he's exposed to, and I have to revisit all these things that they're supposed to be, being taught. And I talk to that school day in and day out, and I constantly say, Mr. Kotowski, he knows me on a first name basis, I have concerns. He says, yes, Mrs. Bordelon, if I had more staff, I'd put them in here. How are we cutting from this school? Is my understanding that there's been drugs brought into West Side Middle School at the beginning of the school year in 8th grade in somebody's locker? I'm not able to state the name, and I don't need to know the name, but this is what my son is bringing home to me. And I said, Isaac, what are we to do? He says, Mom, I stay away from that kid. He's on probation. And this is what the town wants to present? The Board of Ed? If we have to cut this much from our education down in the chambers, as I call it, what about central office? I challenge you guys to look at those numbers. West Side cannot sustain another cut. We closed Fitch Middle with the hopes of this new 2020 plan. Well, neither of my children are going to benefit from the 2020, even though I support the 2020. We restore funding to education, and West Side should not be where you guys decide to cut. Everyone that stood up here tonight says Mystic, Noank, and I grew up on the Groton Mystic side, but there's very few people standing up and saying West Side, that side of town, restore education. I feel like I have to speak for those people, and I don't have anything prepared, but I'm giving you what I have. Just please revisit this budget, look at this, and do not cut on the city side where we put all the military children that you guys talk about that attend that school. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would care to speak? Yes, sir.
Jim Gustafson, 61 Algonquin Drive. I just want to say I support the superintendent's recommendation. It's my understanding that the governor's budget proposal is not even being considered any longer, so I believe that precipitated all these cuts, so I would like to see, reconsideration and restoring the cuts. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is John Piacenza. I live at 34 Ice House Lane in Mystic, and I've been a Groton resident for 31 years. I should also mention that I was the town's purchasing agent for 21 plus years, so I'm familiar with the town operation from the standpoint of dealing with all town departments on a regular basis. I just wanted to make a couple points here tonight. Excuse me. As you all know, if you're paying attention to the news, the state of Connecticut is in pretty bad fiscal condition right now. In fact, they're looking at, based on the latest April revenue figures, that the shortfall is going to be even greater than they originally anticipated. I mention that only because we have to be mindful of the fact that Groton derives about 20% of their revenue from the state, so it puts us in a rather precarious or vulnerable position. And I don't think this is an anomaly. I think this is going to be a continuous situation with the state, which will affect us for a number of years. Secondly, the town performs a lot of disparate functions. Back to the town side. And with that in mind, I think I did provide an email. I'm not sure if it was forwarded to you or not, moderator.
No, sorry, I didn't see it.
No,
I'm sorry.
The clerks?
You sent it to me?
She sent it to you.
I apologize.
All right, that's
I'm-
okay.
I must have gotten it. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
well, take a look when you get a chance if you're interested. But my point is that I think when reviewing the budget, I think it'd be beneficial for the RTM, as well as the council for that matter, to have a methodology or framework to work with respect to reviewing the budget. And so there are some things or services the town performs that are essential services, some not so essential. So I laid out some criteria in this email I sent to the moderator and by way of the town clerk. And so I think it would be helpful if you kept that in mind when reviewing the budget, because the criteria have to do with state, statutory mandates, things that we're required to do by law versus things we do because it adds to the quality of life in Groton, which I understand. And no one wants to ravage the Board of Education's budget. But on the other hand, we have a lot of retired people in town who are on fixed income. Someone made mention of the fact that if we continued, if the cuts that we originally passed by the town council remained, it would have a devastating effect upon property taxes. Well, I would humbly submit that if we raise taxes every year 6 or 7 or 8%, that will also have a devastating effect upon housing prices, I should say. That's not a sustainable scenario. And I know it's a balancing act, but I think you have to consider the greater good in all sides of the situation with respect to the impact of any significant increases in taxes for the taxpayers in the town of Groton. Thank you.
Ms. Piacenza, I apologize for not getting your email. I will get your email and I will read it on Thursday at our next meeting,
That's
Reception
okay.
and
It's not a problem.
Communications.
All right, thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Andrew Mirta. I live at 11 Carroll Court in Groton, Connecticut. 1,350. That's the 2,000 jobs that EB's bringing to the area. That's the number they're going to be on the waterfront, right here in Groton. It's going to put their workforce over 15,500. By 2020, they're supposed to go over 18,000. That's another 2,500 jobs, good-paying jobs that are coming to our area. This is concerning to me. A couple years ago, I'd looked at moving outside of Groton, going elsewhere. The very first thing I looked at everywhere we went wasn't property tax rates, wasn't even cost of the houses. It's where are the good school districts? With 3,000 something jobs coming to our area within the next 3 years, families are coming. They're going to look, where are the good schools? Are they going to come to Groton with us making cuts, or are they going to go to Ledyard? They're going to go to Lyme. Are they going to go to Waterford? Are they going to go to Stonington? Personally, I want them in Groton. They buy houses. They spend money. They go to stores. They eat at the restaurants. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of tax revenue that could be coming right here to Groton that we're saying goodbye to if we make cuts to the schools. Thank you.
Anybody else care to speak? All right, that ends the citizens petitions portion of our program. The next thing is reception of communications. Representatives Massett, Baker, and Wagner all said they would not be able to make it tonight. Representative Wilson, if you don't mind, I'll hold off on reading your note until, I'm sorry? Do you want, yeah, we can hold up on that. So what we're going to do is, right now we're going to take a 5-minute recess because next up will be the town manager and the superintendent, and if anybody wants to leave, this would be a good time to do it. So we're going to recess for 5 minutes. We're back in session. Next order of business is budget update from the town manager. Mr. Manager.
I really don't have an update. I did leave in front of all of you a sheet of paper that just kind of gives a recapitulation of what the council various actions were and what the bottom line is. They've cut a little bit over $6 million out of the budget. The proposed budget was $125 million. As it stands right now, it's a little bit over $119 million. From the proposed budget, it's approximately a 5% decrease from the proposed budget. It represents a 1.61 mill rate increase, around 7.4%.
Anybody have any questions for the town manager? Representative Hubbard.
Numbers? The numbers? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not late. Thank you. Sorry.
Do you have?
Okay. Any other questions for the town manager? Seeing none, we will move on to the report of the superintendent.
Was everyone able to receive a copy of the budget, essentially budget modification sheet that I distributed? Instead of going over the budget that we've heard so much about over the last several months, I thought it would be helpful. I thought it'd be helpful to start with the current budget, which is to say the one for the 16-17 school year. Right now is $76,648,000. That's the one we are operating with. The board over, well, essentially from October through February went through a process and ultimately developed a budget that amounted to a 1.67% increase for 77,745. But as I think most people know, the town council initially voted, and then thank God, and I thank the town councilors for reconsidering, so restored $2.2 million. So the net result, of course, is that the budget was actually reduced by $2,998,000, or 2.25%. So for next year, we're looking at a 2.25% reduction from this current year's budget. So the question is, how does the board intend to cut $2.98 million? And so I just thought I'd go through this quickly, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. What the board did was they asked me to develop to identify the reductions and then to put them into basically 3 categories that we call level 1, level 2, and level 3. So level 1 cuts are, as you can see, the elimination of 2 administrators from the central office that are curriculum coordinators, and they are the folks who help align the curriculum, and we're in the process of, most importantly, next year trying to bring in the new science standards. So that is a reduction that will not be great for the schools. John Piacenza, who is no longer here, I was hoping, because I wanted to thank him. He brought a term that I think has really driven the board's thinking. We want to have a budget that's sustainable. And John said these problems are not going away, and I 100% agree with him. So what the board did was looked at the possibility of at least a couple of $1 million cut, and made the decision that if we wait for the state legislature to act, which I don't think is going to happen much before July, if then, the idea of closing a school in the summer would be pure chaos. And so the board voted last Monday, a week ago, to in fact close Pleasant Valley School. And with the closure of that school, that will require the elimination of 18 full-time teachers, 1 secretary, 2 custodians, the principal, utilities, maintenance, and site budget. Unfortunately, that is a major disruption to 300 children and their families, but it only amounts to $1.5 million. I think a lot of people thought that closing a school would result in a huge amount of savings, but $1.5 million certainly is a good step towards the $3 million that we have to eliminate from the budget. And so we are in the process. We are actually well into the process. Mrs. Austin, the assistant superintendent, is heading a committee, and so we've already contacted the parents. We've already set the plans in place. We're moving ahead with that. The next series of cuts after the elimination, the closure of Pleasant Valley School, we have about 190 paraprofessionals. Those are the folks who, by and large, service one-on-one children. We're thinking that next year we can eliminate 1 from each school, 10 paraprofessionals. The problem is, of course, these are the most vulnerable children in the school system, so eliminating that number of paraprofessionals, if I associated a name with one of those paras and the child, you'd all say that's probably not a great idea. The next series of cuts, and I have to apologize, a number of people pointed out that it certainly looks like it's West Side. What is actually happening is, if you take the West Side Spanish teacher, the West Side Spanish teacher is going to be eliminated exclusively from West Side, and it will serve both Cutler and West Side. The same is true with the literacy specialist, and the same is true with the math specialist, that we will take one person is in fact retiring, so the Cutler math specialist will service both schools. So the good news is that the burden will be shared. The bad news is that there will be a burden. Obviously, it will be 50% less. And as Ms. Bordelon pointed out, that the children in West Side have greater academic needs, typically. So a cut to West Side, even a 50-50 cut, is quite harmful. We lose a maintenance, a tradesman in that arrangement. And then the board loses some of its memberships, Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, for example. And we are not going to purchase. We had slated to replace a truck that needs to be replaced. It's costly to maintain, and we will forego that. That amounts to $2,724,000 cut. And then if you turn the page, there are some other cuts. We needed about $275,000 more. So The big thing is we're going to cut the site budgets. Site budgets are the monies that the principals have, not huge sums of money. The elementaries run about 50,000 per school. So to cut 15% of that, that's the money that they use for books and supplies and materials and paper and that sort of thing. So cutting 15% is not a great idea, but you know, given the nature of the cut, we thought that was important. Board pays for some field trips. I think years ago, some schools were having field trips, other schools weren't because of socioeconomic deal, and the board picked up the cost of those, like to Mystic Seaport and to the aquarium. The board won't pay next year, and so we're going to have to work out some sort of equitable way to ensure that children across the board are getting these experiences. Student assessments, the measures of academic progress, MAP. That's how we identify our gifted and talented students. It's also a way of measuring the literacy and math gains that children make. It's not the only way that we measure it, but it's an important way. Since we're going to lose the coordinators, of course, we'll lose their travel. And then we have instructional software, and one of the students this evening mentioned a program called Lexia. It's a reading program, and we have a math program called ST, Spatial Temporal, and it's actually something that kids can do at home because it's an online. We buy licenses, but they're expensive, and so the idea is that we would trim back or eliminate some of those programs, and that brings us to what you can see is the elimination of the site budgets. That all brings us to ultimately the bottom line number after cutting $2,998,000 of $74,747,000. And you know, I think the way I'm responding to this budget is to go back to my roots as a Coast Guard officer. I'm sort of hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. If bad things happen, the board is going to be positioned to respond, and if really other worse things happen, the board will be able to respond to that. I am, of course, hopeful in what I am hearing from our elected representatives that no deal yet, no even prediction of a deal yet, but the really horrendous cuts that were proposed by the governor, I do not think are going to materialize, and so I'm hopeful that at least in the short run, we're going to get some reasonably good news that may give pause that some of these cuts could be reconsidered. And I certainly, the budget that we have now, while I don't want to brag about it, it does have us, we're on track to build 3 new schools, take 2 offline, actually to go from 10 to 8, but to take the 3 most costly schools offline, Pleasant Valley being the most costly. It was one of the primary reasons why we decided to take Pleasant Valley. There are some physical, structural, plumbing type problems that are relatively significant. We're also going ahead with a plan to expand the International Baccalaureate. When I arrived 4 years ago, there were 6 students who were applying for the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. This year, sophomores, 22 are already signed up for next year. Our classes, AP classes, 22, 23 students, and AP Physics, AP Calculus. Our International Baccalaureate classes are up in the high teens and 20s. The word clearly is out with the students at the high school. The International Baccalaureate program is a real entree into college, into scholarships, and as I say, we're getting ready to build this new middle school. The town has hired an owner's representative. We are about to hire an architect. So the vision of 2020 is very much going forward. And as we close the Pleasant Valley School, frankly, I can't wait, because we need these 2 slightly larger elementary schools to accommodate the children that we have. But we believe that we have a plan, at least for the next 4 years, that will be able to take these children and distribute them to our current elementary schools, and with the idea that we're going to really expand our magnet programs. And both magnet schools, Northeast Academy Performing Arts Magnet and Gretchen Cipollini STEAM Magnet, have long waiting lists. We know for a fact that people want school choice. And of course, the practical matter that I don't need to explain to you, I think, because we've talked about it before, is we don't want children and families opting for magnet schools in other districts, because last year we paid $2.4 million tuition. This year, that dropped by nearly $500,000. We don't want that to go back up. So in addition to all the things that folks said tonight about having attractive schools, we want to be sure that the parents in Groton feel that our schools are providing their children with a competitive education and an attractive one. So, but I'd be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much. I'll ask for questions for the superintendent. However, tonight is not the night for the education budget. That's May 18th. If you have a question to help clarify something that the superintendent has said, that's fine, but this is not a night to be giving opinions on whether you support the budget or don't support. That's for May 18th. Does anybody have any questions to clarify the superintendent's presentation? Representative O'Bray.
Have you put together a plan as to where those 300 kids are going to go?
Yes. We have, well, truthfully, we have a committee that is working on it right now. Several of the students will go to the two magnet schools, and we have a lottery that will be finalized on Friday. So, and many of the Pleasant Valley parents have applied either to go to Northeast Academy or Gretchen Cipollini. The second part of the plan is that we're going to create another class at each grade, K through 5, primarily at Charles Barnum School, and that will accommodate about another 30 children. And then there'll be, we also mentioned to parents, especially those who live near Mary Morrison, that we'd be able to get their children transported to Mary Morrison or even to SB Butler. That actually has some extra room. So the answer is yes, we have.
How do you suppose this is going to affect the balances that you're always trying to accommodate in the schools?
The racial balances?
Yes.
Well, we are going to work with a consultant to actually get that question answered. But I can say this, that the children, the military children, all of those schools are already in racial balance because the community is racially balanced itself. So I don't think it would have well, it depends on who goes to what school. We'll have to pay attention to that.
Well, I'd be very eager to see how you're going to put these children in if they're truly going to have the room that they should have.
Right.
Because I'm not familiar with it. I know at Fitch, at one point, your robotics club that's doing so well now was meeting in a closet. So I have a doubt as to how much extra space we probably have.
I'm proud to say they've come out of the closet.
Me too. Okay. When you say a specialist will be going between, like for the math,
right?
What do you mean by a specialist?
Well, right now we have two at one at each middle school, and the specialist spends part of the time helping to coach teachers on the math curriculum, and part of the time providing intervention for students. So by having only one, that person will spend one every other day at one middle school and then at the other middle school. So there's 50% less service to each school. So that's somewhat troubling.
Well, I've asked those that I've spoken to that I felt that they needed to do a lot of research into this because I feel that West Side is already at a lower
Representative
level.
O'Bray?
I beg your pardon? It's not an
These are
opinion.
questions.
Well, I guess I'll take the opinion out of it. I don't think it. Forget it.
Questions, these are questions for May 18th.
I got you. I got you. I was just, I apologize, but when I saw this tonight, I'm very upset about it. I hope everybody takes the time to look at what they're trying to do to West Side. I was there this morning because I was working the polls, and I was watching those kids come in, and that school was already full. And those kids need a lot of help. And I have great concern that that is going to happen for West Side. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. I'll state it again at another time.
Thank you, Representative O'Brien. Anybody else have any questions or clarification for the superintendent's presentation? I'm sorry, I cannot recognize you. Representative Casper.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I have one question on the 18 teachers. You're moving there's the same amount of kids going to and there are going to be extra kids in all the schools.
Right.
So how would you cut 18 teachers? Are the class sizes going to increase that much?
Well, there's actually 24 teachers at Pleasant Valley. So we're going to take a K through 5 teacher and have them have a class, but primarily, as I said, at Charles Barnum School. But then there are other classes that have while the limit might be 22 children, there's only perhaps 18 in a class. So we will take 4 or however many children to put into the other classes. So the class sizes will go up to what the board would consider appropriate, 20 for primary grades, 22 for grades 2 and 3, and 24 for grades 4 and 5. So it's not easy, but all of the schools that we looked at had much larger capacities in the past, so we're confident we can put the children there. But the 18 teachers will, unfortunately, those FTEs, next year there will be 18 less teachers. That's why I think this budget is going to be sustainable moving forward.
Any other questions or clarification of the superintendent? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports. Finance Committee, Chairman Nault. So the Finance Committee met 3 times, so we're going to read each night's minutes into the record, and we'll vote on each night's approval of each night's minutes.
Mr. Moderator, I move for approval of the RTM Finance Committee meeting minutes for April 10th, 2017.
Actually, hang on a second. I think I would take one more 5-minute break. Let people. It seems like people want to leave, so we're going to recess for 5 minutes. We're back in session. Committee reports. Finance Committee, Chairman Nault.
The RTM Finance Committee met on April 10th at 6:30 p.m. to consider the FY 2018 budget. Members present were Representative Nault, Pasqualini, Powers, Quinn, Gilly, Marr, and Marley. Absent none. Quorum was declared. Also present were the Town Manager, Town Finance Director, Groton Long Point Association President, Groton Long Point Police Chief, and the Democratic Registrar of Voters. Accounts discussed included the following. Account number 10003, voter registration. Motion was made for $117,002 by myself, seconded by Representative Pasqualini. I asked, discuss possible areas to cut with the Registrar of Voters and whether money saved this fiscal year from not having a primary could be used now to save money for 2018. The town manager explained that that was sort of a useless exercise because the money that was saved is either going to benefit us this year or next year, so it will go back to the fund balance. And so that answered that. Vote was taken, 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstained. That would be Representative Marr. Next, we moved on to account 1013, Finance. Motion was made for $1,395,374 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. The town finance director provided an overview of the finance budget and the impact of last year's cuts, and noted that the requested budget includes a full-time employee in the tax collections office. Representative Pasqualini asked about combining the Board of Education and Finance Department functions, and town finance director said that it was being looked at and that there was a town council group looking into it. Representative Powers asked about whether retiring people were at the top of their wage scale and noted that he supported hiring the full-time employee to support tax collections. Representative Marr asked about purchasing agent qualifications, and then I noted that the budget book said that keeping the budget at the same level as last year would allow hiring the tax collector part-time, which would provide some relief to the finance department. A motion was made for $1,376,903 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. This is the same amount as the FY 2017 budget. Vote was taken, 5 in favor, 2 opposed, Representatives Gilly and Powers, 0 abstaining. We moved on to account 2120, Revaluation Fund. Motion was made for $86,000 by myself, seconded by Representative Pasqualini. I asked what we were spending the money on when the next revaluation wasn't until 2021. Town Finance Director explained that some of it was for site survey work, and some of it was for legal fees to defend people fighting their new assessments. And Representative Powers asked about how many lawsuits were expected, and that was kind of discussed and batted around. Vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Next account was contribution to other funds. Motion was made for $546,661 by myself, seconded by Representative Quinn. Town manager explained this number and that it was cut in half by the town council due to the challenging budget circumstances. The vote was 7 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstaining. Then we moved on to Groton Long Point, account number 10910, Groton Long Point Police. A motion for $249,375 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. As I had attended the town council meeting, I explained that if you look at the budget book, town council's rationale for this number was that they cut 5% from the request for the Groton Long Point Police. Representative Marley asked if it would be a good idea to zero out the Groton Long Point Police, and I told him that I thought it was a bad idea given the long-standing provision of money to Groton Long Point, and noted that the number on the floor was less than the Groton Long Point Police spent in 2016. Vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Next was Groton Long Point Highway Maintenance. Motion was made for $169,813 by myself, seconded by Representative Pasqualini. Town manager explained that by agreement, the RTM could not modify this number. Vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Last account for Groton Long Point was 10912, Groton Long Point Street Lighting. A motion was made for $13,476 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. There was a discussion about shifting to LED street lights in Groton Long Point like the town had done, and the Groton Long Point Association president noted that that decision was up to Groton Utilities because they provide the electricity for the street lights on Groton Long Point. Vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Next account was account number 1092, Fire District's Pilot. Motion was made for $246,000 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. There was no discussion. A vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Account number 2060, Mumford Cove, was next. A motion was made for $21,028 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. There was no discussion. A vote was taken, and 7 were in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. And then the next account was account number 4010, Groton Sewer District. Motion was made for $834,176 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. I asked if this account had any effect on the property tax mill rate, and the town finance director stated that it did not. Vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Motion to adjourn was made by Representative Marley, seconded by Representative Gilly. Vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. The meeting adjourned at 9:30 p.m. I'd like to move for approval of the RTM Finance Committee April 10th, 2017 FY 2018 budget meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the RTM Finance Committee April 10th meeting minutes as read. Is there any discussion? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just for this time, I'd like to ask for a roll call vote because I know that a couple of members did depart during the last break.
Very well. Is there any other discussion on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, we will vote on the April 10th Finance Committee meeting minutes.
Okay, so you signify, when I call your name, say yay, yes, no, or abstention. Adams? Yes. Bailey?
Yes.
Baker? Oops, sorry. Bauer?
Yes.
Burgos?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Dean Shinbrot?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Frickman?
Yes.
Gilly?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Laughlin?
Yes.
McCabe?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes.
Nault?
Yes.
Nugent?
Yes.
Aubrey? Aha. Parker?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Quinn?
Yes.
Sleeker Hersant?
Yes.
Steinford?
Yes.
Irma Streeter?
Yes.
James Streeter?
Yes.
Swindell?
Yes.
Watrous?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Newsom?
Yes.
It's 29, one not voting. But I'm not sure that she's gone for the day. Is she gone for the day? She is gone for the day? Okay. So now we have 29.
There are 29 members.
So that's
Unanimous.
unanimous. We didn't get the time that she left.
Motion passes unanimously.
So we'll have to say 9 o'clock.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
The RTM Finance Committee meeting met again. Finance Committee met again on April 17th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the fiscal year 2018 budget. Members present were myself, Representative Powers, Quinn, Gilly, Marr, and Marley. Representative Pasqualini was absent. Quorum was declared. Also present were the town manager, the town finance director, the town clerk, town human resources director, assistant to the town manager, the town IT director, and the town attorney. Accounts discussed were account 1001, legislative policy. Motion was made for $61,155 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. Representative Marley indicated that he did not think that the town should be in the business of running a historic property, namely the Jabez Smith House. The town manager responded that the town has a responsibility, since it owns the property, to provide basic maintenance and heating oil, which is shared with the house curator. A motion was made for $58,935 by Representative Marley, seconded by myself. A vote was taken, and 2 were in favor, myself and Representative Marley. 3 were opposed, Representative Powers, Gilly, and Marr. Abstaining was Representative Quinn. Vote was taken on $61,155. 3 were in favor, Representative Powers, Gilly, and Marr. Opposed were myself and Representative Marley, and abstaining was Representative Quinn. Count 1005, Town Clerk was next. I moved for $312,896, seconded by Representative Marley. I asked if all the RTM members get paper mailings, and the town clerk stated that all RTM notifications are done electronically now, and that only 4 RTM members have asked for and received paper mailings. Vote was taken, and 6 were in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstaining. Next account was 1006, Legal Services. Motion was made for $400,000 by myself, seconded by Representative Powers. The town attorney explained her estimate for this account, but noted that it really is a guess or an estimate because the actual amount of legal fees in a given year is unknown. Vote was taken. 6 were in favor, 0 were opposed, and 0 abstaining. Next account was account number 1010, Executive Management. A motion was made for $308,110 by myself, seconded by Representative Powers. I asked about the upgrade of the town manager's executive assistant to the assistant to the town manager, and the town manager stated that the promotion had already occurred and that it was a done deal. I stated that I thought that the RTM should be notified whenever a permanent position or a person is promoted with a corresponding increase in salary, regardless of what that salary increase is. I expressed concern of the magnitude of the state ECS and other cuts and the necessity to hold the line on spending this year. Representative Powers expressed support for the promotion. A motion was made for $301,959 by Representative Marley, seconded by myself. The vote went 5 in favor, 1 opposed, Representative Powers, 0 abstaining. Next account was account 1011, Information Technology. A motion for $1,022,511 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Powers. I expressed concern that hiring a full-time employee was not feasible given the budget situation this year. The town IT director indicated that he really needed the office technician position, as not having it filled makes it very difficult to take care of all the issues that come up during the year. Representative Marley moved a new number, which is funding the new office technician position at half funding to allow the hiring of a part-time employee. The motion was for $997,716 by Representative Marley, seconded by myself. There were 6 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Next account was account number 6050, Computer Replacement Fund. Motion was made for $84,868 by myself, seconded by Representative Gilly. There was discussion about which computers and monitors exactly were going to be replaced, and the town IT director explained his plan. The vote was taken, and there were 5 in favor, 1 opposed, Representative Marley, 0 abstaining. Next, we addressed CIP 7B, the IT infrastructure upgrade. A motion for $1,189,000 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Gilly. I expressed concern about the challenging budget situation. The assistant to the town manager explained that preliminary discussion with the consultant indicated that they could move forward with a phased approach at a funding level of $600,000. A motion was made for 0 by Representative Marley, seconded by myself. I noted that I had heard through the grapevine that the town council was going to revisit this account. That was confirmed by the town finance director. Representative Marley withdrew his motion and moved to table this account until April 20th so that we would have the benefit of the town council's revised vote. 6 were in favor of tabling this account, 0 were opposed, and 0 abstaining. Next, we moved on to account number 1012, Human Resources. Motion was made for $340,870 by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. There was a very long discussion about the new risk manager position, which the Human Resources Director had requested funding of at a level of $35,973, and the town manager had increased to $75,841. I again expressed concern about hiring full-time employees, and the Human Resources Director stated that hiring this position will result in long-term savings through reduced problems found around the town. A motion was made for $302,884 by Representative Marley, seconded by myself. A vote was taken on that number. 1 was in favor, Representative Marley. 2 were opposed, Representatives Powers and Gilly, and 3 abstained, myself, Representative Marr, and Representative Quinn. A second vote was taken on the original number, $340,870. 2 were in favor, Representative Powers and Representative Gilly. 1 was opposed, Representative Marley, and 3 abstained, myself, Representative Marr, Representative Quinn. Next, we moved on to account number 1070, Insurance and Claims. A motion for $622,425 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Powers. The town manager explained that spending in this account was dependent on the number of claims that get filed throughout the year. And the vote was taken, and there were 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention, Representative Marley. Next account was account number 1071, self-funded plans. A motion for $7,656,157 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. The town manager explained that the town council cut funding for OPEB retirement benefits in half, from $940,000 to $470,000, which resulted in the number adopted by the town council for that budget item. I asked if we could cut it all the way, and the town manager explained that that could impact the town's financial rating negatively, and that historically Groton has been very good about funding OPEB. A vote was taken, and there were 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstaining. A motion to adjourn was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. 7 were in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. The meeting adjourned at 10 p.m. Mr. Moderator, I move for approval of the April 17th RTM Finance Committee 2018 budget meeting minutes.
2017.
2018.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the Finance Committee April 17th, 2017 meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. 29-0-0.
The RTM Finance Committee met on April 20th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the FY 2018 budget. Members present were myself, Representative Powers, Representative Quinn, Representative Gilly, and Marley, with Representatives Pasqualini and Marr absent. A quorum was declared. Also present were the town manager, the town finance director, the assistant to the town manager, the town IT director, the Groton City mayor, the Groton City deputy mayor, the Groton City police chief, the Groton City deputy police chief, the Groton City patrolman Spellman, Heather Spellman, Groton City Police Records Clerk Kavanaugh, Groton City Finance Director, Groton City Councilor Heed, Groton City Councilor Garish, Representative McDermott, and Representative Aubry. Accounts discussed first were 10901, Groton City Highway Maintenance. Motion for $1,963,250 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Gilly. The city mayor explained exactly how the cuts to this budget were arrived at with the town council. A vote was taken, and the result was 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstaining. Next, we went on to account 10904, Groton City Street Lighting. A motion for $113,568 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Gilly. Discussion was none. A vote was taken, and there were 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining. Next account was 10900, Groton City Police. Motion for $2,243,802 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. The Groton City Police Chief explained how the town council went about making this cut, and then explained what was wrong about the town council's rationale. I stated that even if there were errors in the town council's number, that I supported the cut because of the dire budget circumstances that everyone is in. The Groton City Mayor stated that fairness dictated that the Groton police budget should be treated similarly, which Representative Nault agreed with. Representative Gilly stated that the police are one of the most important functions of government and did not support the town council's cut. A motion for $2,392,390 was made by Representative Gilly, seconded by Representative Powers. A vote was taken, and there were 2 in favor, Representatives Gilly and Powers, 3 opposed, myself, Representative Marley, and Representative Quinn, 0 abstaining, so that vote failed. Then we voted on the town council's number of $2,243,802. There were 3 in favor, myself, Representative Marley, Representative Quinn, 2 opposed, Representative Gilly and Powers, and 0 abstaining. We next moved on to CIP 7B, Computer Infrastructure Upgrade. Motion was made for $658,000 by myself, seconded by Representative Gilly, as this was the town council adopted number after they revisited it. The assistant to the town manager explained that further discussions with the consultant resulted in a revised cost for a phased approach of $658,000. I expressed my concern for this year's budget situation and stated that I was reluctantly going to support cutting this account further. I made a motion for 0, seconded by Representative Marley. Representative Powers and Gilly stated that they couldn't support this number and that we should support the town council's number. A vote was taken, 3 in favor, myself, Representative Marley, Representative Quinn, 2 opposed, Representatives Powers and Gilly, 0 abstaining. The next account was account number 1075, Capital Reserve Contributions. A motion for $773,000 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. This was cut to $773,000 due to cuts to CIPs made by the town council. It was decided that cutting this further, based on the cut to the IT CIP, was appropriate. A motion for $115,000 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. 5 were in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstaining. Next account was 5010 Capital Reserve. Motion for $3,412 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. There was no discussion, and 5 were in favor, 0 were opposed, and 0 abstained. Next account was 1076 Debt Service. Motion for $510,538 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Marley. There was no discussion, and 5 voted in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstaining. The next account was account number 1074, Contingency. Motion for $650,000 was made by myself, seconded by Representative Powers. I and Representative Marley expressed a strong desire to lower the mill rate as much as possible. The town manager argued the dangers of not funding contingency sufficiently in light of the numerous contracts that are coming due in the next fiscal year. Vote was taken. There were 3 in favor, Representatives Powers, Quinn, and Gilly, 0 opposed, and 2 abstaining, myself and Representative Marley. A motion to adjourn was made by Representative Marley, seconded by Representative Gilly. The vote was taken. 5 were in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and the meeting adjourned at 9:30 p.m. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move approval of the RTM Finance Committee 2018 budget meeting minutes for April 20th, 2017.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the April 20th, 2017 RTM Finance Committee meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously, 29-0-0. So, we're ready to start working on accounts. What I would ask Chairman Nault to do is to please go back, and after that huge information overload, as we come up with each account, please remind the body what the Finance Committee recommended. So, Representative Wilson.
Mr. Moderator, as my annual reading, may I state my disclosure? Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Members of the RTM, as we begin our annual budget deliberations, I'd like to state that I'm a volunteer member of the Mystic River Ambulance Association and the City of Groton Fire Department. Further, I do not sit on any boards or committees at either organization that deals with the financial matters, nor do I participate in any budgetary or fiscal decisions. I make this disclosure pursuant to the town charter and our rules so that the members of this body are fully aware of my associations. And after thorough consideration, I am informing the RTM that I do not intend to recuse myself from any of the discussions of any of the counts and fully intend to participate in the discussions and subsequent voting. And with permission of the moderator, I avail myself to any questions.
Thank you, Representative Wilson.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, our first count. Count 1001 on page 48. I'm sorry. Representative Waters.
I also would like to disclose that I'm an employee of the town of Groton. I work in the assessment division of the finance department.
And I need to disclose that I'm also an employee of the town of Groton, well, through the Board of Education. I also am the vice president of the Para Union.
I'm sorry, Vice President of
The Paras Union.
Thank you. Anybody else? Representative Parker.
Cheers. I would also like to disclose I work for the City of Groton and do not have anything to do with the financial part and will be voting.
Okay. Any other disclosures? Very well. We will go to account 1001, legislative policy, page 48 in your budget book. Representative Nault, would you like to put a number on the floor from your committee?
Mr. Moderator, I move $61,155. $155.
Second it.
Motion's been moved and seconded for $61,155 from account 1001. This is the same number as passed by the town council, correct?
Correct.
Is there anything in your notes about this?
Sure. Well,
account?
just I'll just say this once for 30 seconds. You know, you heard me express in my finance meetings concern over the budget, and you know, I think that a 7.4% tax increase is untenable for this town, and that we need to lower it at least to 5%. And I discussed that with Cindy Landry today, and she ran the numbers, and basically we need to find about another $2 million in cuts if we're going to get down that far. And that's going to be tough to do, but the Finance Committee has been working hard to do what we can. And so that's why, you know, there were some votes that passed, some votes that didn't pass. There was a lot of discussion. We were about the risk management guy with Bob Zagami for about 2 hours. We really scrubbed this stuff hard. So we're going to, and various members of the committee have come up with more cuts that we're going to propose and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to say that and just remind you on this account, there was some concern by myself and Representative Marley about the Jabez Smith House, which is part of this. And we're both of the same mind that the town ought not be in the business of running a historic property. We don't have any problem with the historic property per se, but you know, a nonprofit should be doing it. They should fundraise and that kind of thing. That was our beef. Representative Marley did move a lower number, but seeing the magnitude of the issues we have and the tiny nature of that cut and the fact that we are obligated legally to at this point, we can't not disassociate ourselves from that legal obligation. I'm not interested in moving a lower number at this point for this account.
Mr. Manager, do you want to add to that about what Groton's responsibility is regarding the Jabez Smith House?
Well, I think Jim has covered it. I mean, just a little bit of history. It was probably back in the late 70s that the town accepted a gift from the Ann Graham estate for the Jabez Smith House, and also around 30 acres of land that is right around it. Groton Ambulance Building is on that land, and also Grasso Gardens is on that land. The gift was made with the understanding that we would maintain the building. And the RTM, certainly the previous RTMs have provided funding to basically rehab the building over the years. The money that's asked for in next year's budget is a little over $2,000, of which a good portion of that is to simply pay for around 500 gallons of oil. The thought being that even if the building was not occupied with a curator, which it has been over the years, the town would have to maintain some type of heat in the building, and that was the estimate that was put together many years ago, 500 gallons. Other dollars are used for programming activities, stipends, materials and supplies, and so forth.
Are there any other questions for either the town manager or Chairman Nault? Representative Parker.
Mark, just a quick question. Why is there an increase for the charter revision? Is there an explanation that I missed?
Well, I think the increases were, as the Charter Revision Commission continues to work on coming up with their recommendations and suggestions, there will be a need to have the town attorney take a look at their work. So this was a number. It's a guesstimate at this point. And for other expenses, printing expenses and so forth and so on. I do not, possibly the town clerk would have a better update as to where she thinks they are in the process. I really don't have a good sense.
This wouldn't come out of, if the legal fees wouldn't come out of the legal account?
No.
It would be separate?
No, you wouldn't want to put the legal fees unless we use, if the charter revision uses our current town attorney, it's still going to be paid for out of the charter revision fund. So you really don't want to mix them up with town business, like, you know what I mean?
But
yeah.
I can give you a very specific, if you would like, a very specific breakdown. If you want it.
Please.
Okay, sure. And I'm just running through the object code worksheets So charter revision for postage, printing, and advertising is $7,080. There's $80 for postage, $6,000 for printing, and $1,000 for advertising. And for charter revision attorney services, there was $5,000 requested.
That's current, or is that potential?
That's for next year.
That's for next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any additional questions for Chairman Nault? And just as a reminder, let everybody know, ex officio members of the RTM, under Rule 9.2, under the Charter, the town manager, town clerk, chairman of the Board of Education, the town attorney, and the members of the town council shall be ex officio members of the RTM and shall have all the rights and privileges of RTM members except the right to make motions or to vote. So if you care to raise your hand and be recognized and comment at any time, certainly allowed to do that. We're on account 1001, the amount of $61,155. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. 29-0. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Representative Parker. You're abstaining. 28-0-1. The next account, 1005, Town Clerk, page 56 in your budget book. Chairman Hall.
I'd like to move $312,896.
Second.
Motion's been moved for $312,896 for account 1005, Town Clerk. Is there any discussion on this account? Would you like to, you have any notes?
Yeah, the only thing that nobody had much to say at the Finance Committee about this. I was concerned about us last year putting out so much mailing all the time and postage and all that kind of stuff, and it seems like that we've done a pretty good job of scaling that back, so that I was okay with that. So.
Okay. Any other discussion on account 1001, 1005, my apologies. Very good, we have an amount on the floor of $312,896 for account 1005, Town Clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. 29-0-0.
Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, members. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My staff thanks you.
I'm sure after last year. The next account is account 1006, Legal Services, page 61 in your budget book.
Yeah, I'd like to move $400,000.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded for $400,000 for account 1006, Legal Services. Is there any, in your notes, anything you want to add?
No, there was just some discussion by the town attorney that this is really a guesstimate, because they have no idea how many lawsuits the town's going to be involved in. So based on historic, precedent, they thought they needed 450. The town manager cut it to 425. The council cut it to 400. And so that was pretty much the extent of the discussion. Some back and forth.
Could I please trouble you to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Eileen Duggan from Sussman Shapiro, and our office serves as a town attorney. Similar to what Mr. Nault just described, I did indicate that it is very tough to estimate how much the legal fees will be. The discussion did center around, gee, have there been any big cases that have settled, anything big on the horizon? And again, it's very difficult to say what will or won't happen. We can look forward, and as Representative Nault said, you can look back on historic perspective and try to do your best to give you some indication of where things will go. And that's what we've done. That's what we did when we came up with the original estimate of $452,000, and that's where we wound up at the $400,000 with the committee.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for the town attorney or for Chairman Nault? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor for $400,000 for account 1006, legal services. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next account. Thank you very much. Next account. Account 1010, Executive Management, on page 64 in your budget book.
I'd like to move $301,959.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded for $301,959 for account 1010, Executive Management. This is a reduction from town council number. Chairman Nault, would you like to, can you explain that, please?
Sure. So this is provides funding for the new assistant to the town manager position, which happened several months ago and is now currently being funded at that level. And you know, I thought and I think that whenever there's an increase in salary for somebody, that the RTM should be notified about it, regardless of whether it's above $10,000 or not, because of the long-term implications of that. Now that that person's in a new job with a higher salary, if they stay for a career and they retire and then they live to be 100, then we're all paying for that until that person's no longer with us, and that's a lot. That's potentially way over $10,000, and so that's just my thing about that. And so that was, you know, that's my take. And I also think this year in particular, as far as any kind of promotions or new hires and stuff, I think is, my personal opinion is that that's a non-starter with me, because like, holy cow, we're in like budget Armageddon, and we're like hiring or promoting people. I don't get it.
Councilor Morton? Yes, please.
You could take.
Or,
Good evening. I'm Councilor Morton, and I am appearing tonight because I want to urge you to pass the number that the council passed, which is higher by $6,151. It's the original number that we passed, which is $308,110. When this account came up for our review, it was funded at a level which would provide for the new position, which is an assistant to the town manager, rather than the executive assistant, which is the position that Nikki Brezhnev had before this. This came about too because there was a discussion about whether or not we wanted to include an assistant town manager position. As you know, that's kind of bounced back and forth the last couple of years. And we decided that with the current town manager retiring and a new town manager coming in, that the one thing we had to ensure was continuity and retaining somebody with all the institutional knowledge of the town manager's office, and Nikki certainly has those qualifications. We felt that it was in the best interest of the town to ensure that she remained employed by us, and we felt that after all of her years of service, she was certainly capable of moving up, taking a promotion, and being promoted to the assistant to the town manager. So for that reason, several months ago, We promoted her, authorized her promotion, and the funding for that. Understand that the funding for that position is already detailed in the town's salary schedule that is in effect for all of your different positions. So even if you cut this, she is still going to be paid the amount that she needs to be paid. The only thing that cutting this line item tonight is going to do is it's going to hamstring the new incoming town manager by creating a $6,151 deficit in his budget, because Nikki will still get paid the salary that she's entitled to for the position. It's not going to lower her salary because contractually she's entitled to what we authorized her to make and what's in the salary schedule. So I would ask you to vote this down and please pass the salary that we approved. Thank you.
So, Mr. Manager, as you recall, a year ago, we had this discussion, and you were vehemently against an assistant to the town manager. But that situation has changed now? Is it because of your impending retirement?
I guess that's one way of looking at it. Just to remind the RTM, you did cut out the assistant town manager position last year. This budget was cut by almost 25% during last year's deliberations. I could not, I thank Councilor Morton, great job explaining how important it is to have some continuity in the town manager's office, and certainly Nikki is more than capable and qualified. If it wasn't Nikki, I'm not sure I'd be recommending an assistant to the town manager, but I think it is absolutely the most important thing that the town council did was approve the job description a couple months ago so that we had the opportunity to promote her and make sure that she stays in that office. So I truly, truly do believe that ultimately this town needs an assistant town manager. In fact, I think it was the evening that I announced to the council that I planned on retiring, or maybe the next meeting, that they talked about it, that they, I think, feel probably just as strongly, because they actually, some of their discussion was, now we need to hire a town manager, and maybe we should go about hiring an assistant town manager at the same time. Your recollection is absolutely correct. Given an assistant to the town manager or an assistant town manager, historically I've felt this town needs an assistant town manager. But that certainly wasn't going to happen last year. It certainly isn't going to happen this year. And you are going to have a new town manager coming in that will know absolutely nothing about Groton or the culture of the organization or the community itself.
And what will her responsibilities, how will her job description change from what she's doing right now?
I did not bring the job description with me, but she is, she's already, I think you have met Nikki. In terms of one of the major projects that she's helping with is the whole client first upgrade to our IT infrastructure or our programming. She prepares staff referral memos for the manager on various items. She basically is taking over doing the staff support for the Personnel and Appointments Committee of the Town Council. Absolutely an invaluable resource for that department.
Thank you.
And just to note, if as Councilor Morton noted, if the $301,000 is approved, that is not going to impact her salary at all. Where those dollars would have to come from would either be the salary that the council negotiates with the new town manager, or it would have to come out of the whopping $27,000 that we have for operating expenses in the department.
Representative Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. If Nikki has been promoted, was there any particular reason why she may not have been considered for your position? Instead of looking outside?
She's way too smart for that.
But
I couldn't answer that question. She, as far as I know, she did not put an application in to be the town manager, though I think she would do a very good job personally.
Thank you.
Representative Streeter.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to move a new figure, $308,110.
I'll second it.
Sorry, say that again, Representative Streeter?
$308,110. Justification and due respect to the committee chair, it's not what an individual RTM member feels is appropriate to come before this body. It's what the charter says will come before this body. So to kind of arbitrarily subtract money from salaries because a person does not feel or feels it should come before the body but doesn't meet the threshold, I don't think is appropriate. And I think at this point here, with the town manager leaving, it is an important position for that assistant to the town manager.
Representative Steinford.
I concur with this motion, and I think it's not just because Nikki's been there since she's 19 years old. It's what she has done over those years and what she can remember and what she has. And I watch the council meeting usually every time they're there. And as the manager just said, he mentioned some of the things. And you could see what she has developed into, and we're making use of that. And if you don't watch the, you missing what's going on with the council. And she certainly has deserved, because she has extended herself.
Is there any other discussion on this account? Representative Nugent.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I also support it too, not because I'm sure she deserves it, but I wouldn't normally support creating a new position to fit a particular individual. But since I don't see this town probably ever creating an assistant town manager position, it seems like an assistant to the town manager is an appropriate position to have ongoing, whether it's Nikki or in the future somebody else. So I'll support the new number. Thank you.
Any other discussion on account 1010 before we vote? Motion on the floor is $308,110 for account 1010, executive management. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Raise your hands if you're opposed, please.
No. Kent. Read them off, please. Quinn.
Frickman.
Frickman.
Kent.
Yep. Bailey.
Nault.
Six. Bailey.
Nault.
Yeah. Kent, Quinn, Frickman, Bailey.
Sorry, and please raise your hands again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Window.
Oh, and Representative Parker has her hand
Yeah.
raised.
Nope, didn't have
So
her.
7.
Parker.
You guys have to raise your hands up high.
Yeah.
Okay. Any abstentions?
2 abstentions. Abstention is Merritt and McDermott.
I'm sorry, the abstentions again?
Merritt and McDermott.
Merritt and McDermott.
So it's 20 in favor.
27
7 and 2.
Motion carries 20 to 7 to 2. Next account. It's account 1012, Human Services, on page 81 of your budget book.
Human Resources.
I'm sorry, Human Resources.
Mr. Moderator.
Just wanted to let you know, Bob Zagami was here earlier, but went home sick. So if you want to go through these accounts, I will do the best I can along with Cindy Landry, or if you'd like to defer. The accounts that Bob was here for is Human Resources, Insurance and Claims, and Self-Funded Plans. But as I said, if it's a desire to go through them tonight, we'll do the best we can. He attempted to hang in there, but had to leave at the break.
It is my opinion that there is a lot of information in those 3 accounts to cover. I would prefer that Mr. Zagami was here to answer questions, because these accounts are a lot of money and they're pretty complex. Hmm? Yes, Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just had a question for the town manager, please. This is an easy one. I'm just trying to understand again the difference between the $318,000 that was requested and the $340,000 that the council had approved. The difference being, if it could be.
I'm sorry, John. Which account are you?
I'm looking at the one that we're just talking about right now, 1012. I'm just trying to understand the figure, and maybe it'll go back to the minutes that the Finance Committee had, but there was an explanation there between the two. I was just trying to ask for it again, please.
Well, just a minute.
I got to get to the right account first.
First, we've not put a number on the floor.
I understand that.
We're not discussing the account. Before we put a number on the floor, I would like to make a motion to move those 3 accounts, 1012, 1070, and 1071, to another night when, probably Thursday, when we have the right people here to answer our questions. So, motion's been moved and seconded, move those 3 accounts. I suspect Thursday. We'll have to see how Mr. Zagami is feeling. All those in favor of moving those accounts, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That leaves us with 1 account to finish tonight, account 1013, Finance, which is on page 98 of your budget book.
I'd like to move $1,376,000, $903.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded for $1,376,903 for account 1013, Finance. This is a reduction from the town council number. Chairman Nault, would you like to explain your rationale?
Sure.
Or your committee's rationale?
If you look at the town manager's budget book, for many of the accounts, including this one, there's a 0% increase over last year discussion that he had the account holder make, and then I'm sure he added some verbiage in there, and then a 5% cut. For this one, if you look at the 0% increase, it says that they want a full-time tax collections person, but if you do that, then they can do it part-time, which will provide some relief. I thought that that was a good thing to do, and so there was some discussion back and forth, and then that was voted for 5-2 in committee in favor.
Okay, motion's been moved and seconded for $1,376,903 for account 1013. Is there any other discussion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I give a presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Director Landry, please do.
As noted, the Finance Committee did approve the budget dollar amount for the 2017 budget for this year, the same amount as we have this year. It's a reduction of the $18,000 from the town manager's recommended budget of the $1,395,374. I'd just like to give you a brief overview of the department and touch base on some of the issues that have occurred in 2017 to give you a little bit of insight into my fiscal 18 budget. In addition to leadership, the Finance Department consists of 4 other divisions: accounting and treasury, assessment, purchasing, and tax. And much of the work we do is required by statute. I think most people are familiar with the primary work handled by the tax and assessment, but the department is responsible for several other functions, such as accounts receivable and cash management, payroll, pension, and accounts payable check processing, the annual CAFR, townwide purchasing, the administration of exemption assessment programs, billing and collection of landfill and sewer use, and the collection of delinquent taxes. The $42,000 cut to the 17 budget required a layoff in the tax office of a financial assistant too. And during the last 4 months, this department has also seen the retirement of 3 long-term employees: the purchasing agent, the tax collector, and the treasurer. The loss of the FA2 in tax has greatly impacted the tax office. Staff was not able to be as responsive to taxpayers' phone calls as they had in the past. The phone calls went to voicemail, and then the voicemail cannot be returned as quickly. And these employees take great pride in their work, and the inability to meet their own high standards caused a great deal of stress among those remaining employees. Several of the impacts of the loss of this, it was a domino effect. It caused delays in mail processing, delays in the changes of addresses that we receive from the post office and DMV. And these address changes ensure that when we do rebills, that it goes to the proper and the most current address. The review of delinquent accounts was delayed. Rebills that we normally send out in September were not able to be sent out until October. The releasing of liens and refunds and adjusted bills were delays. And simply put, there's just not enough employees for the workload in that division. And these delays have impacted the collection of back taxes, interest, and lien fees, and the numbers don't lie. Compared to this time last year, we are down $300,000 in back tax collections. So my proposed budget and the manager's recommended budget includes reinstatement of this position in the tax office, but at a lower classification, not as an FA2, but as an FA1. And the anticipated salary savings from filling the 3 retired employees at a lower salary scale will offset most of the cost of this full-time employee. So I'd like to respectfully request that you consider approving the town manager's budget of $1,395,374 and restore a full-time position to the tax office. And this is the division that collects 68% of the annual revenue for the town. Thank you.
Representative Parker.
Cindy?
Yes.
So in looking at the positions, you jumped, or it's presented as the current adjusted for 2017 was for the financial assistant, jumps from $139,350 to $180 between 4 people. Is that due to raises or something? They added a 4th. No,
it would be an additional that.
Okay,
the addition of that one
person.
position is about $40,000.
Okay, and then did we increase the budget? Is it the budget analysis person? Is that the person that left?
No, the budget analyst and the coordinator, that's a position that I had come to the council in 2017 to make changes to the division when I had a position that I had an administrative secretary, and that position left the office, and I restructured the leadership division and created the budget analyst coordinator and a financial 2. Those 2 positions were already, I created the budget analyst position, but I eliminated the admin secretary and kept an existing FA2 that was in that division. And if you recall, last year, we had discussions about, I needed a position in that department to do more analytical work, and that's what she's transitioning forward now and doing as far as on expenditures and the revenue sides on the budget. That's one of her primary functions is going to be this year.
All right, so she moved from one position and bumped up again.
Right,
Bumped up.
she was an FA2 that was promoted to the budget analyst.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions on this account? Representative Steinford.
I'd like to move the motion to $1,395,374.
I'll second that.
This afternoon, I was reading exactly what the director said. I looked over these things. I don't know how many people take time to read the other pages and not just the money and where the money comes from. But that is one of our most important departments there. And the first page on 98 is just what was remunerated by the director. And I think cutting anything is just hurting the department to function the way it should.
Is there any other discussion? Representative Wells.
Well, I can give some direct testimony. I was doing a tax return last month, and I said, where's the amount for the sewer use tax? And realized I hadn't paid any of it. And usually you get a letter in the mail. It's not terribly sophisticated, but it probably takes a lot of trouble to put. So I paid the tax, but it was just like completely missed it from July through the whole year's quarterly tax payments. I was kind of dumbfounded. I said, gee, usually there's some note comes if I forget. So needs to be tightened up a little bit. I paid the tax. I don't know how other people would probably, take advantage of the fact that nobody's bothered them. I don't know how you get the money from them if they actually just ignore you. That takes some work.
Any other discussion on this account? So Director Landry, this additional person.
Mm-hmm. It's a reinstatement of a position that was cut last year due to the cut to the 17 budget.
And how much revenue do you believe this person will be helpful in bringing in?
I can't put a dollar number to that. What I can tell you is what they have been unable to do in that division this year, which is primarily collection of delinquent taxes. We have just simply not had the time to do the follow-up, the rebilling, the phone contacts.
And how much approximately is that?
We're down
Delinquent taxes?
we're down $300,000 from this time last year in back tax collections.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on this account? Seeing none, we will vote on the first figure on the floor, $1,395,374 for account 1013, Finance Administration. All those in favor of the figure on the floor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Can I have the ayes, please? All right. Ayes, please.
Can we please have the ayes?
Powers. Steinford. Merritt. Wilson. What? Evans.
Steinford. Wells. Dean-Shinbrod. Casper. McCabe. Laughlin. Bailey. Streeter Jim. Streeter Ernest. Burgos. Gilly. Nugent. Powers. are going to do a roll call vote, just to make sure, for our last account of the night.
When I call your name, say yes, no, or abstention. Adams?
No.
Bailey?
No.
Bauer?
Yes.
Burgos?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Dean Shinbrot?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Frickman?
No.
Gilly?
Yes.
Hubbard?
No.
Kent?
Yes.
Laughlin?
Yes.
McCabe?
Yes.
McDermott?
No.
Merritt?
Yes.
Nault?
No.
Nugent?
Yes.
Parker?
Abstain.
Powers?
Yes.
Quinn?
No.
Sleeker Hersant?
No.
Steinford?
Yes.
Irma Streeter?
Yes.
James Streeter?
Yes.
Swindell?
No.
Watrous?
Abstain.
Wells?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Newsom?
Yes.
What'd you get? Hmm? What'd you get? 18 in favor, plus 9 opposed, plus 2 abstentions, equals 9. Okay, 18 in favor, 9 opposed, 2 abstentions.
What is
It
it now?
passes. 18 in favor, 9 opposed, 2 abstentions.
Motion passes 18 to 9 to 2. As our final account for tonight, I will entertain a motion to recess until Thursday, the 4th, 7 p.m. All those in favor of recessing, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Bailey's opposed. Abstentions? We are recessed.